Welcome, niche website builders.
How's it going?
To the show. Hi, Tyler. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's good to see you guys. It's been a minute.
It has. It's been a while, actually. Yeah, it feels like it's been a while. Yeah. So I forgot to press go live on the stream, so that music was just for us, like until about a minute ago, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot to press the button. So people are just filtering in still. So we'll let them kind of catch that up.
How you guys been?
All good. All good. How's it been with you?
Good. I just got done moving. I spent the last week moving into a new home. And so you guys are the very first ones to experience the audio visual setup that I've got going on in my office. You can't see it all, but there's a lot of moving parts. And so you guys probably know when you're hooking up lots and lots of hardware and stuff like that, you kind of cross your fingers that it all sort of works.
Awesome. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So did you move far from where you were before?
Actually, the opposite. I maybe moved within. You could maybe throw a baseball and hit my old place, so not very far at all. So it's actually just a little bit different of a spot, and yeah, it's my wife and I. We were just trying to look to get a little bit more room and things like that. So it's nice to have an extra office too. I had converted during the pandemic one of our bedrooms into an office. And so family members, when they would come and stay, had to sit next to lights and mics and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, welcome. So yeah, we're hoping it'll be a pretty interactive show. Adam and I got loads of questions for you anyway, but we're hoping that the audience will ask lots of questions too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got some regular people here, so like Daniel, Birdie, Adrian, Tim, Maeve. Welcome back. So today's show is aptly named "Everything You Need to Know About Display Ads." Depends how many questions you ask, I guess, and what you get answers you get. But we'll get through as much as we can in an hour of like everything you need to know about display ads. If you are new around here, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can get shown in front of more people and grow the streams, which are growing quite nicely. And as always, we will have a giveaway at the end of the show. If we get more than 35 likes, we'll have a Niche Website Builders merch giveaway as well. So,
woo!
Merch.
Oh,
yeah. We'll have to get you some merch, Tyler, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Merchandise is definitely one of those things that like you appreciate a lot more once you start having to produce it and things like that. All kinds of different challenges there. It looks like you guys got some good stuff.
Yeah, we got some. We only got one T-shirt each, so now we're getting some more, so so that we can actually wear them more frequently. But yeah, all right, we'll get cracking because there's lots to get through, lots of questions. Anybody else, if they've got any questions, we'll pick them up as we go through the show. So feel free to ask in the stream. We should probably introduce you, Tyler, and what your role is at Ezoic, and maybe what Ezoic does if people are not quite sure, so that they know what to ask.
Yeah. It at least will provide a foundation for all the different types of questions. I get all kinds, everything from the detailed complex ones to the day one ones, and I feel like I do a pretty good job of trying to be able to get to both of them with the level of detail that it needs. So
awesome. So you're CMO at Ezoic, right?
Yeah, I'm the CMO at Ezoic. That means I'm the chief marketing officer, which, you know, of all the different executive positions, marketing inside of a tech company, I don't know. I think you can make the argument that it's the easiest.
Maybe. All right. So, okay, we'll start with our questions. So we got one for you here. Actually, I'm going to put you in the spotlight here. Okay. How is EPMV calculated, and what does the niche and individual use? What effect does the niche and individual use have on this?
Yeah, so EPMV is earnings per 1,000 visitors, and you can kind of think of it this way. So I used to have a lot of trouble trying to explain to people the math and the reason why EPMV is a metric that really Ezoic pioneered. A lot of people weren't using it for a long time. It's what mobile apps would use. They call it ARPU, average revenue per users, I think is what it referred to. The idea behind it is that you want to know how much money that you make per visitor. So that's basically how much money do you make it's like kind of what your margins are if you're a like brick and mortar store. And the reason why it's so important is because the metrics that have traditionally been used in advertising that publishers would look at to see how much money they would make, we're really focused on advertiser metrics like RPM or CPM. So you can kind of think of them as building blocks. So CPM is how much it costs per 1,000 impressions. CPM means cost per mil. For whatever reason, they decided that mil means 1,000. And I believe it's Latin. And for whatever reason, we've kept that in advertising. It's got a lot of legacy stuff that doesn't make sense. But a CPM is how much it costs for a certain ad location to buy 1,000 impressions. So that's what an advertiser bids. Now, all the CPMs on the page, so all the ads on the page, those add up, and that's your RPM. So rate per 1,000 visitors. So that's how much you make on that page view. However, if you go to EPMV, or earnings per 1,000 visitors, or I think sometimes it's called RPS, it's session revenue, you're basically figuring out not how much do I make from all the ads on the page or each ad individually, but how much am I making across the entire visit for all of my customers on average. So that's EPMV. The niche itself, it's all over the place. We're working on right now launching a report, and we're calling it like the niche index, but it essentially is going to show you sort of the span of EPMV ranges across all the different IAB categories. I believe there's 24, and you can kind of see that there's really, really high averages and some a little bit lower averages than others, but the top end of almost every niche is the same. It's really high. And then you can always find outliers on the low end as well. And so it's one of probably a dozen really important factors, of which there are thousands, that really determine how much an individual site makes. But it ultimately comes back to the audience, and really if there's advertisers that are competing to reach that audience.
Yeah. I would just a follow up on that, because I was going to ask this in a slightly different way. But does that mean how much an advertiser is willing to bid on an impression is based on not the niche itself, but on the visitor and the demographic of that visitor? So it doesn't matter if you're talking about a really expensive product on the page, you could be talking about nothing on the page, but if it attracts someone who's a high net individual, and the advertiser has that data around that person being a high net individual, they'll pay more for that impression? Or how does that work? Like,
the simple answer is yes. The long answer is that there's a couple different things and they kind of get divided into things that you can control and things that you can't control. So the things that you can control are really, let's assume that the visitor comes to the site. The things you can control at that point are really things like the ad density, the ad locations, the ad size, all that kind of stuff. And basically like who's allowed to bid on that. So if you look at where advertisers run campaigns, there's this little company, it's a startup. I don't know if they're going to make it or not. Their name's Google. And they do really well in this space. And most advertisers tend to put their campaigns into them. And so let's assume you've got access to something like Google AdX and maybe other advertising partners. And so you've got that on the page. Really, ultimately, what you want to be able to do then is maximize the supply to the demand. So if you have a high net worth person where maybe there's a lot of advertiser competition, scarcity in some cases might drive up the bid. So maybe lower ad density, certain sizes, if it's Lexus running a campaign, maybe Lexus only runs 970 by 250s above the fold, and they bid like a pretty penny for it. Like it could be something along those lines where the person wins the bids. But realistically, it's all going to be based on historical data of both the user and then what the exchanges and the ad partners and basically the ad server have that they can share with basically automated bidding protocols that are, built into just about every advertiser platform these days.
Oh, that's awesome. This might be a techie follow-on question from that. Are big site owners, if they not your typical kind of affiliate sites, if they have first-party data on a user, so they might run a course or they know like some first-party data, are they able to enrich kind of the data with their first-party data in any way to say this is a high net individual, or is it all just based on third-party data?
That's a good question, because I think that there's a lot of discussion about that. when you start getting into like the big brand enterprise like conversations, especially in-house. So I would look at it from a business owner perspective, and then I'll look at it from an advertising industry perspective. From a business perspective, I look at it, and my question really is that first-party data that maybe I have on my user. I think that there's a lot of discussion right now about the use of different user data and things like that. But one thing I do know is that if I have first-party data, I'm going to be very discerning about where I'm sharing that data, whether it's with an ad platform or an ad server or any kind of index that is basically wanting to use that data for targeting or something like that. So that's number one. I'd rather not give that data to somebody else. And number two is when you look at it from the ad industry perspective, I think the idea is that you'll be able to use that information to basically create cohorts that you can then sell to advertisers. But in most cases, you're doing that on exchanges and things along those lines anyways. And what we've seen is that, if you look at some of the big media brands that have tried their best to kind of create their own sort of, premium ad brand, advertisers sort of, like they don't pay the premium that people would think. Direct advertising sales has always been a bit of a crapshoot, especially with private marketplace deals and things like that are available inside of Google Ad Manager. And so I think it really depends on the execution of it. If you have a good audience and you have like a really great application for it, I think it's still best to work one-to-one with a brand or advertising business or something like that. It kind of just depends, because if you have something that's really, truly unique, there might be a partner fit out there where something along those lines is going to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I just asked the question because I remember years ago I worked for an ad network, and at the time we were trying to group our first-party data into cohorts to sell. And you're right, there was no premium on that. And I just wondered if it had come, just a personal question, it had come along anyway, but it doesn't sound like it has.
No, it's I can almost promise you it's the exact same place that it was back then. But people just use different words. This industry is filled with legacy stuff, and it's made overly complex on purpose because so many benefit from being an intermediary in the space. And it's something that I think we're headed toward a solution for. I mean, us being the whole of the industry, but it's a slow moving process.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So this is the next question then. Like you mentioned, actually, that there's a range here. And they're pretty similar top ends, but how do you know you've got more scope to improve your EPMV for your site, or that you're at the top end pretty much and you're maxing it out?
So I guess if you think about it from this perspective, kind of making it simple again, the supply and the demand. So imagine your site is a store, and imagine your audience are the people that come in to buy things. Realistically, your audience is only going to be of a certain value to different types of advertisers. So being able to maximize your quote unquote margins with them or something like that is going to really determine about the value of your inventory. So there's basically two things that you can do there. So the first is you can try to maximize your ability to optimize it now, which obviously at Zillow, we're big proponents of personalization, being able to cater the, density, sizes, and locations of those ads to the visitor. It basically just gives you more bidding options. So the more variables that you have in that respect, the better. You can imagine maybe a low value visitor lands on the site. You've got a 300 by 250 above the fold on a mobile device. But there's no advertisers bidding for it. So no ad shows or something like that. But if you were to put a 728 by 90, maybe there's 10 bidders. So then you make a little bit higher CPM. And so that's the sort of little optimizations that I think can make a difference. But realistically, what you want to be able to do is control your ad inventory value over time and build it. And how you do this is basically adjusting the ad density over time based on different cohorts. So what this looks like is essentially all bidding is based on historical data, meaning the exchanges, when a visitor comes and they look at, there's a maybe sidebar ad location or something like that, the exchanges, when determining how all the automated bidding is going to work, they're going to look at the historical data on what has that ad in the sidebar gone for recently. What has the winning bid been? And if the winning bid slowly over time is eroding and going down, that's bad. That means that your inventory value is going to keep getting lower and lower bids. However, if you can incrementally lift that up, what you're going to see is a linear growth in revenue, because what's going to happen is, if let's say that ad went for a $2 CPM yesterday, and then today somebody lands on that site and maybe the ad density, there's one less ad on the page, and that one less ad on the page means that ad in the sidebar, maybe there's more competition, because the chances of actually landing that bid and winning it and getting it shown to that visitor are actually lower now that there's one fewer ad on the page. So what's going to happen then is, when people bid more, the next time somebody comes to the site and the ad exchanges and the bids are going out, they're going to look to see how much of that ad in the sidebar go. Maybe now it's $2.10. And then the reason is because people bid more the last time because the ad density was a little bit lower. And then what's going to happen is that in cases where you maybe want to maximize the revenue on a visitor that's most likely going to be not returning, or, coming and leaving, then you can actually up the ad density once again. So now there's more ads on the page, but the historical data shows it's still a $2.10 CPM. So what you've done is you've been able to make more money off the same inventory by basically historically showing that advertisers will bid more for certain locations on your site.
That makes sense to me.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I'm just wondering, like, can you screw your EPMV, like, if you and have horrible historical data, which means where you could be achieving more?
You totally can. And this is the story of the ad industry. And it's honestly, if you go back maybe 8 or 9 years ago, this was a big reason why we built Ezoic, was because people were really bad at testing, because all this, the historical data, all this, it takes a long time to build, because you imagine the variables that you can bid on the advertising industry are great. So the chances of you getting, lots and lots of the same cohort of an audience to come over time, it takes a lot of traffic. If you do, 10 million visits a month or something like that, you get the data pretty quickly, but otherwise it's a slower moving process. So if you're running tests and you're looking at things week over week, you're not really seeing the larger impact of that. And that's something that machines are a lot better at than people. And so it's one of the things that we had looked at a long time ago. But if you want to know a dirty secret of the industry, I've watched sites be completely flatlined by doing this on purpose. And one of the tricks that's out there, and I've seen it a lot, somebody will come along and they usually run a number of sites, and they have like some kind of like fancy media name title business. And they come along and they go to site owners and they'll say, I'd like to buy your site. And they usually throw an offer out that's, exponentially higher than what they would expect. So you're like, oh, right, this is great. And the offer comes in and they only want 51%. And you go, 51%? You don't even want the whole thing? This is amazing. What do I have to lose? And it sounds like it's a great deal. The problem with that is that usually what's going to happen is they'll say, well, I'm going to pay you back based on how the site earns money. They usually pay some form of cash up front, and they own 51% for a good reason, because what they're going to do is they're going to use like low quality arbitrage traffic through, like, you'll never believe what she did next ads at the bottom of some website, and they'll drive traffic to it. And then they just jam as many ads as they can on that page through every ad network that anybody would be willing to put onto that site. And they just run really low quality, mostly human traffic at those pages. And the ad exchanges figure it out relatively quickly. And those sites will either get blacklisted or the bids go down to like nothing. And so you've basically scorched earth that site. Now, at this point, usually if the companies do a good job of it, they'll recoup their investment and make a little bit of money, and then they walk away, and you're left with half a website that no one can make money off of. And it's basically, once a site goes through that process, if it gets blacklisted, advertisers, exchanges, they never go back and re-whitelist sites old sites that were blacklisted. It's that domain is basically ruined for forever. And so it is something that's out there and something you should be aware of.
Wow.
I've never heard of that, but that sounds nasty.
It's you know what? I used to see it a lot, and only recently had somebody come to me and ask me about it, and I was like, oh wow, this thing's still around. People are still making money doing this.
Crazy.
Wow.
I've literally never heard of that before, but it sounds crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Guess it wouldn't be right to not talk about cookies, right?
Oh man, my favorite topic.
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially when they keep moving the date back. I bet you just want it to happen now, right? It's like the third time it's been moved back, right? But like, yeah, like, what's Zoic's plans for dealing with this?
So I say this is my favorite topic because if people haven't heard me talk about it before, I think that it's hard to know where to start because I can go forever on this topic. So I guess I'll start.
A condensed version because we've got still loads to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll summarize it this way. If you look at advertising spending, especially with a lot of different economies across the globe experiencing inflation, you've got this exponentially higher advertising growth year over year than what we've seen in the past, but it's linear. If you look at it over the last, it's like the stock market. Even if you see a little momentary dip from seasonal changes, ultimately brands are spending a lot more on advertising. Advertising works. It's great. You know, it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It's a great business. So advertisers are spending more. If you look at the percentage of advertising spend overall and where it goes, TV down, outdoor down, print down, digital way up. Digital continues to increase. You continue to see linear growth, and digital is taking up a larger and larger piece of the pie. So digital advertising spending going up, digital percentage of that advertising spending going up. And if you look at where that digital spending goes, a huge amount of it is going into Facebook and Google. I think it's like 80 to 90%. And so when you have those two parties, and largely their platforms now depend on third-party data tracking, cookies. It didn't used to be this way, and it wasn't this way for a long time. In fact, it's these companies that convinced advertisers that these magical cookies were a better form of targeting than all the other systems that they had in place before. I'm not sure that the data even backs that up. And for them, it was a real way of them getting onto pages of lots of publisher sites to start collecting user data. So it's a great model for them. It doesn't look like it's going to work anymore. It seems like the public is largely turned against it. So they've sort of removed this. Apple played a part in this, but it's because Apple's not really taking part in either of those things. It's a little bit of a war between those three parties. But you've got advertising spending going up, you've got digital going up, and you have the platforms basically saying, where we're taking all that money, we're going to change the way that it's spent. So if you're an advertiser, you probably need to take a really close look at all your campaigns and where your spending is going. You have to be more discerning. You can't just put a cookie on your page and then dump, money into Google and Facebook and expect everything to be okay. I'd argue that if you're doing that now, you're wasting a lot of money and probably experiencing lots and lots of poor targeting anyway. I don't think cookies are this magical targeting solution that people think that it is. But with that, all that being said, if you're a publisher, why does it matter? Like, who cares? Cookies, no cookies. The advertising spending is going up. What's going to happen if advertisers can't target via cookies anymore and the platforms can't target cookies? Are they going to put their money into television? Are they going to go back into print? They're going to throw it into billboards? No way. Digital is still the best attribution that you get by far. You get better data. So if the targeting changes, it goes to contextual. It goes to these whatever Google's new version of Flock is, which is like basically deciding cohorts in the sky with encrypted user data. It's really similar to cookies. The point is it won't matter for publishers. In fact, I think it'll be good. Our publishers will make more money. I'm convinced. I've been trying to tell people, I probably should start with that. Zoic users will make more money whenever cookies go away. And the reason is because, number one, advertisers are going to be more concerned about where their money is spent. And ultimately the way that ads are served to visitors, things like viewability, are users actually doing something with the ads, they actually have an impact at all, that's going to matter more to advertisers. And that's something that really lends itself to being able to adjust the supply and demand of ads based on the user. So my answer to that question is, if you're a publisher, don't let anybody scare you about cookies.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's take some questions. Got some questions from the audience now, so take a few of those. Don't forget to like the show for some free merch at the end. We're up to 34 people watching at the moment, but only 20 likes. So what's that about? Get it going. So Bill, is one of the factors geolocation such as country? Oh, this is about the PMV, I think. Such as country, and with somewhere like the US, is it then down to state or even city?
Yeah, it is. Man, I wish I wouldn't have to dig this out of the doldrums. Maybe I'll send it to you guys afterwards. But I actually have a CPM heat map where you can actually see the United States all the way down to the zip code, and you can see like the blue parts where the CPMs are lower, and then the really, really red hot parts. Any guesses, guys, on the two?
New York.
Yeah.
New York is up there. The two zip codes that are the very highest, believe it or not, the number one is in Texas and number two is in California.
Well, what you put that down to is that does it reflect with like areas of affluence, I'm assuming?
Yeah. So the one in California, which is number two, is the Beverly Hills zip code. And
I was gonna say Beverly Hills, but I thought 90210, right?
Right. It's so funny too, because it's like a zip code that everybody knows because of the television show. And then the number one, and this one was surprising. It's not necessarily intuitive. It's right outside of Houston, and it's where all the scientists live from the NASA Space Center that's there. And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, why Houston? Why outside of Houston? And our data scientist at the time who was showing it to me, he's like, well, that's where all the scientists and engineers at NASA live, that neighborhood there.
That's
so
really interesting.
It kind of makes sense.
Lots
Are
of reasons.
advertisers able to bid on zip code then, or is it just through the other data that it ends up targeting those people through the other attributes, or are they literally bidding on the zip codes?
Yeah, so you're left with a lot of these types of questions when you look at all the data together. Is it a factor, or is it just a correlation? And you can definitely look at the map and you can see it's areas of affluence are the red ones, and the blue ones are usually the more impoverished places. So I lived in St. Louis, Missouri for a long period of my life. St. Louis is known for having very, very high crime, and you can see it is a very blue area. But it's mainly the inner city where you see a lot of the blue, and then you get out into the more affluent areas. And if you can get that granular, you can see it's a little bit more orange in those areas.
Awesome. Oh yeah, well share that with us afterwards, and we'll add it to the description on the video and show the audience and everything. That'd be awesome. Yeah, to see. Good question, Bill.
Yeah, well, Marcus, the next question. I'm just going to say this is an awesome live, by the way, Tyler. I really appreciate it. These questions are great.
Man, my pleasure. Awesome. This is the easiest thing I'll do all day. I just get to talk.
We'll have to get you on again now. There's going to be plenty more, I think. I think an hour won't be enough, but we'll keep going. Hey, Tyler, I've signed up with Azoic, but for some reason I can't get the mediation with AdSense to work. Any tips? I guess it's content you support, right?
Yeah. So I have to put my technical support hat back on. I used to be able to answer pretty much every technical support type question. I could just boom right off the dome. Like I'd seen and heard of everything. But if I go back and think about all the different things that might throw that off, the first thing that comes to mind is the email. So if you sign up for Ezoic with an email that's different from your AdSense email, the mediation link that comes to you may be associating it with the email that you have with your Ezoic account. And if that's not the one that's linked to that site, like AdSense, so you might have a Gmail account that's associated with AdSense on that site. But if it's a separate email from the one that you signed up with Ezoic with, you'll have to change that out. So you'll have to make sure that the email that you put in when linking AdSense matches your Ezoic one. And if you aren't able to do that because you've done it, you've already input it and it says it's sent and it's pending or something, just email support and just tell them that whatever email is associated with your AdSense account and that you want that to be the one that sends the mediation partner link over. And then you'll get an email from Google. At that email, all you'll have to do is click on it, and then it'll ask you, do you want to link this? And that should be good to go after that.
Okay, cool.
That's primarily what it is. Whenever we see somebody have trouble linking mediation, it's usually just a matter of just email inconsistency.
That makes sense. I mean, I assume mediation is generally a good idea. I guess it depends. The answer is probably it depends, right? But you get an idea. Is there an idea of like what we could expect? We expect additional revenue from adding mediation to the account, and like what was, what sort of percentage can we expect, or what range of percentage improvement?
Yeah, so think of it two ways, because there's two reasons why you would do it. Number one is increases advertiser competition. So your AdSense, you have all the advertisers inside of Google. So we're a Google partner. We have access to Google AdX, which is all Google's advertisers plus every ad network you could ever imagine bidding and competing. So you'd think it's always better. Realistically, they bid on things differently. They're both separate entities inside of Google. They don't talk to each other. I won't go into detail, but they don't talk to each other. They're completely separate. And so you've got AdSense. And so AdSense, every now and then adding it as competition to AdX actually has a nice advantage. When we've done the studies of all of our sites in the past, usually the difference in revenue over a long period of time is about 15 to 30%. So it's definitely worth it from that end. But if you're using Ezoic and you're linking your AdSense to mediation, the other reason to do it, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, the reason why we have mediation is because if you have any existing partners that are competing with all the ad demand that we're able to add in, then all that money that those mediated ad networks win, we don't take any of that money. Ezoic does not touch it. That's yours. You keep 100%. So that money accrues in your existing accounts, with whether it's AdSense or whoever. So that money will go into your AdSense account as if it was showing through AdSense, and Ezoic doesn't touch it, because that's the idea behind the platform originally, is that we would allow people to test things, and if you don't, we provide the best of everything we could. But if you have something already that's good and it's able to win, then you should keep that money. What value are we adding in that exchange other than being able to sort it out for you?
Awesome. Cool. Is there a plan to move away from the fee that you have to pay to access the premium program? Can it not be deducted from earnings instead?
Yes. I mean, realistically, there's a couple things that I think about here with it. I think one of the things with premium in particular is we're working on a way of sort of really defining and sort of segmenting our product differently. And that'll allow people, I think, a little bit more clarity on exactly what form of Ezoic product, what they're getting, what the value of it is to their business, and things along those lines. Because we have a lot of new features that I think are going to be really attractive to publishers. But if you don't want them, it just becomes more complex stuff to manage. So we want to give people more control over that. Premium in particular, I know that people dislike the idea of paying a subscription cost. And it is one of those things that we know that people don't like it. No one in the industry has ever operated on this model before. And the reason why is because the black box of revenue sharing is what I know a lot of publishers think they like, but it's one of the fundamentally biggest problems with our space, because what happens is you have a lot of intermediaries that take a percentage of revenue and no one ever knows how much it is. And that's a problem. And we think that you can solve that by being able to have a fixed cost in that regard. And we've seen this be a huge benefit to publishers whenever we're able to look at their business from the bottom line perspective. That said, I don't know that the model that we have now is maybe, I guess, transparent and clear enough in terms of what you're getting. And so we actually have right now, we have publishers that are on premium for free. We have publishers that pay out of earnings. We have a bunch of different models and programs that we basically start over time. Once a publisher has been using Ezoic for a while, or they start to grow, we have multiple programs that will start to like reach out to them and ask them if they're interested in. And usually the pay from earnings or the free premium, that usually comes with some type of like, commitment of some kind, usually a year, 2 years, something like that. But it mainly just allows us to spread out, us being able to shrink the cost for us over some period of time. So that's the basis for it. That said, I would imagine that we're going to be able to expand that and offer a lot of other creative solutions for publishers that are interested in different things. But I'm a big fan of being able to show you exactly what you get for any money that you spend. And I think premium right now is it take me 2-3 minutes just to explain it. So I think that's already a problem. But yeah, so I would say if it's something that will change this year, and I think people will be happy with the options they get.
Just as a side note, like both me and Mark use premium, like, and even though it's I pay for it separately from my earnings, every single month I've had it, I've made more money than I pay my premium. So like, to me, it's just a case of cash flow. Like I pay for it now and then I get more back at the end of the month, or when it's paid, like net 30, whatever, net 60. So
and that's
like,
part
I love it. It's free money for me, basically.
Yeah. So I mean,
the more I can pay in premium, the more I get back.
I always tell publishers, even if you don't want to do it, do the free trial if it's offered, because that literally is just free money. We built it. The thing that makes it really difficult is that there's a really complex algorithm that sort of determines how we sell brand campaigns and how they're distributed and all that kind of stuff. And it depends on the different audiences that people have. So that obviously traffic and audience is something that fluctuates for every site. And so what you see is that that those fluctuations are sort of hard to mathematically work out, but machines are good at it. And so what that means is that we've built something to where we can guarantee, we know if somebody's on premium, 100% they will make more money, and not make more money overall, but they'll make money and profit from any money spent on premium as well. So that's guaranteed and built in. But I understand the pain point of cash flow. Everybody has to go through it at some point. And I think when you're a growing business and you're, in the early stage of growth, it's definitely more of a pain point than as you get larger and, cash flow is not as big of an issue.
Yeah. Just a real quick question. You have like those 3 different options for each plan that you're on. You have like, I want to make a bit of money, I want to make a medium-sized amount of money, or I want to make the most money. Of course, I want to make the most money. Like, why do you have those other options, and do people actually select them?
They do. So this is whenever I talk to our internal product managers and stuff, this is actually one of the areas that I don't seem to understand, because we fundamentally, as a principle of our business, we like being open, we like being flexible, and we like giving publishers options. We think that one of the problems with the space for the longest time is that people get sort of locked into things and basically sort of get their business overtaken by intermediaries that just overreach. So we want to be flexible enough that you can do everything that you want. So that's great. But whenever you start to give people options where, the lowest tier option is just not as good, like you're going to make less money, the margin's less, you could spend more money, make more money. It's like, how many $2 bills would you buy for $1? As many as you'll let me. And so I do think it's one of those things where it becomes like a cash flow concern. And typically what we'll see is a site will start on the lower one. And then after a couple months where they're like, oh yeah, I am making more money, I wonder if I spend a little bit more, if I will make more too. And what you're saying is just our ability to just allocate more of the brand campaigns in that direction. And so to me, I think that it's a great example of an area where being able to simplify and streamline how we position and allow publishers to pay for and extract value from premium. It's just a no-brainer to me that's something that I think we can improve.
Yeah, so that's the basic, preferred, and elite. Yeah, I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. Next.
The original version of premium actually was based on a credit system, and that credit system was actually better, but the math was so complicated. I actually think that there's probably something there in terms of being able to help publishers better understand like how it works, instead of thinking of it in credits, thinking of it in terms of like brand campaigns or something. But yeah, I've been in some meetings here recently where we've sort of been trying to, whiteboard out how we can position that and reorientate the way that the product works.
Yeah,
for sure. Somebody's asked, is video worth it? Seen some mixed reviews on Facebook groups. And I guess what's the future of video? Is it just going to keep getting better? Yeah.
If you're an Ezoic publisher and you have any interest whatsoever in video, or maybe almost even better, no interest in video now, for whatever reason, I can promise you that, number one, what we're preparing to launch probably halfway through this year is fundamentally different from everything that's ever existed in video, and will be a huge, huge opportunity for any Ezoic publisher. I think we're going to attract a lot of video publishers that are on platforms like YouTube and things like that to begin starting sites to use Ezoic in these features. But also even just the challenge of creating video. I think we have a solution there that's going to make the overhead cost of creating video significantly lower, and then the challenges of finding people to make video exponentially easier as well. And I won't go too much further in that, but you could probably use your imagination a little bit on some of it. But in terms of video being worth it, I would say that we've hired probably a dozen ad ops people that specialize in video. We've gone out and I think we recruited away most of the engineers that were on Dish Network's team that were working on that project a couple of years ago when they got bought. And so we've invested a significant amount in both being able to target and ensure that we have a premium ad inventory available to advertisers through our video player. And then also a lot of the machine learning based like elements of our regular advertising product are being built into video. I would say that right now you upload video, put the Ezoic player on your site. Look, it's a demand that you don't have now. Video is usually a little bit higher earning than display, but it's still going to be based on how many people view it, the quality of that audience, real views. But good quality video on your pages, good quality video index and search, it's the way to go. The future is video. It's expected to grow more than any other form of content in the next 2 years. If you look at the types of video that are expected to be consumed and that advertisers are going to dump money into, I think it's poised to have 43% growth. If you look at independent video that's indexed in search or on YouTube versus something like television that's only going to grow 3%. So, I mean, it's definitely worth it. And I would say, even if you're thinking momentarily, like I'm not seeing a huge impact, I would say really focus on providing good quality video to your audience and consider it an investment in the future as well.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys bring out. I think sounds interesting. Definitely. Daniel's asking, how do you suggest publishers build a brand while leveraging display ads as their main revenue stream?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question from the standpoint of I think that display ads as a primary source of revenue for a publisher is the best model. So I'm a purist in this respect. I think a lot of people think of advertising or showing display ads as sort of like a fallback, or if you look at the big media brands over the years, they the pivot to subscription, pivot to video, pivot to product sales, pivot to affiliate. There's been all these sort of like jokes about all these different models because I think they think that it's somehow like more prestigious or something. But realistically, if you look at history, the model that's worked and always wins, ads always win. Like they do. And the reason is because like, look at something like YouTube, it makes to say that Google is profiting far and away more than Netflix or Disney or any of those other like streaming providers it's like comical, because they're exponentially more profitable. They have a much larger audience and they make a lot more money. Advertisers put their money into Google way before they put their money into Disney or the exchanges that are basically putting CCTV stuff into Disney Plus user subscribers. So the reason why I say this is because ads are the most flexible model because everybody wins. The advertiser wants to reach an audience. the publisher wants to subsidize the creation of their content, and an audience wants content for free, and they're willing to tolerate ads as a means of getting that free content. When you start forcing people to subscribe, when you start, number one, it's limiting. You have two tiers of audiences, then people that can afford the content, people that can't. And then you also have these models of like product sales, affiliate, you've got donations and all that kind of stuff. Those are good, but they still require, like, the reason why programmatic ads and why so many advertisers go into it is because it allows you to basically target your product to the people that want it. When you're a brand and you're, selling a product through a publisher, if 100 people come to that site, how many of those 100 people are, potential product targets? You can work out the math and you could, find a way to make that profitable, but you're still burning those users that have no interest in the product. And over time, that becomes something to where it's like, do you really want to not make money off of a huge portion of your audience? And maybe it's deterring some of your audience members as well. And it makes it so that your business needs to then cater to product sales, in which case begs the question, why not just be an e-commerce business, Yeah. And so the thing that I think about a lot with this is that if you're a publisher and you want to build a brand, leveraging, it doesn't matter what, you want to connect to your audience. You really want to own your audience. And there's not a lot of brands that I've seen built by basically trying to figure out how do they just do SEO really well, meaning how do I just create lots and lots of keywords that rank high in Google, and then people will come to my site organically and hopefully they come back because my content's good. I don't really see that work in that sort of linear progression. What you'll see is SEO really important, organic search obviously important, but it's those people that are able to find identifiers with their audience, where their audience goes, I love this content because it's what I can get here that I can't get anywhere else. And a good example of that for me is probably something like, trying to think the stuff that I really like out there now. I really enjoy reading stuff on Axios, and part of the reason why is because I feel like they do a good job of getting the topics that I like my interests. It's weird, but their stories may be on the same topics or subjects that you could find on a lot of other like news publishers, but for whatever reason, the way that they're orientated just sort of fits me. I don't know any other way to explain it, but the thing is being able to connect with an audience means sometimes you have to take a perspective. It can't just be lots of objective data or something like that. You're gonna have to do something different that, and makes your audience feel like they're connected to you. And that usually means, you'll want to have a newsletter. You'll want to, find some way to get those publishers to log in so that they can access, different levels of your content. You build the community. These are the types of things that I think ultimately are going to lead to having a brand. I've built a brand. I didn't used to believe in them. I thought they were like unicorns. They just sort of happened. But Ezoic used to be a 5-letter word that auto-corrected to exotic on my phone. And now it gets over 1 million searches a year just for the brand name Ezoic. And I can tell you that the difference in that was really people stopped looking for how do I make more money from ads? And they started looking for Ezoic. And the reason why is because we had a great product, but we started building a community where users are telling other users, recommending us. And we started to try to figure out how do we become a great provider of technology? How do we work directly with our customers so that they're happy with it? And people aren't trying to figure out how do they make more money from ads. They're looking for Ezoic as a brand name. And I think that model applies to everybody. And I think it starts with having a great product. If you're a publisher, that's content.
Cool. That makes total sense. We just got a quick one here from Tony, who is your Ezoic Publisher of the Year as well, I believe.
Hey, Tony, Publisher of the Year.
Yeah. So, does mediation always pay even when it's linked? I'm assuming not. Assuming AdSense doesn't outbid your Ezoic earnings, right?
So if you don't have mediation linked to anything, I assume that means that like you have
even when it is linked. So does mediation pay even when it is linked? As he's not seen any payments in mediation.
So if you don't have any money accruing in mediation over a long cohort of time, I would say it may be worth having somebody take a look at it. Again, it could be the email thing with something like AdSense, or I would just check to make sure it's not listed as pending or something like that. You can look in big data analytics to make sure that your mediation earnings or something like that isn't. You should potentially get some amount of money at some point, even if it's like this really small incremental amount. It is possible, though, that something about the way that AdSense had been set up on a site before, that's primarily what people link, especially first off, is that what I was talking about, like ad dilution earlier and the value of an inventory. For whatever reason, the inventory value of your site before Ezoic could have been so low that once we bring in all of our demand and start making adjustments, that it's so much higher that it just completely like makes it so that mediation is like not even in the same realm. But realistically, I think over time, as we build up the value of the inventory, even that mediation will start to kind of poke its head out because we're lifting the value of that inventory as well. So I would say it's not unheard of, but I would say keep an eye on it and like zoom out a little bit, meaning like look at it over a couple months and just see if any money is accrued. If no, it may be worth having somebody in support take a look. Otherwise, it's probably just Ezoic having a much higher value inside of our server.
Makes sense. Cool. Just going to pop this on quickly here because Fami's desperate to have the question answered, but we already covered this. So go back and watch it from the beginning. I don't know when you joined, but I think Tyler's already said like his where he thinks ads are going. He's very bullish on ads over the next 5 to 10 years, even after the removal of cookies. So yeah, go back and watch from the beginning and see Tyler's answer later on there. Yeah. We've got so many questions, by the way. This episode has had so many questions. Struggling to get through them all, but
yeah, I don't think we're going to get them all.
More.
I love the one about the next 5 to 10 years display ads. That's a good one. I love that question. But yeah, my answer is ads always win.
Yeah, even in the future.
Yeah. You don't ask me about the next 5 to 10 years. I'm a creative thinker. Everybody at Ezoic whenever we do executive strategy sessions, they have to feel me pushing on them at all times to really push the envelope. I'm a text maximalist. I think the technology is going to exponentially grow and be disruptive in ways that probably seem stupid or crazy right now. But yeah, I'm very bullish on display ads as being a part of that.
Yeah, I see this one get asked a lot on Facebook groups and stuff as well, so we could answer it here, I guess. And so yeah, hopefully clarify. But yeah, how do levels work? Recently got leveled up, but no increased DPMV or earnings.
So a couple of things there. So the first is the levels. Really, that's our first wave of being able to show publishers different segments and sort of clarify for them different both service and product offerings. But I don't think we've gone far enough there in being able to offer something that's really clear and also distinguishable enough. So like level 1 versus level 2, like what's happening, what differences am I seeing? So in each level, we're able to whitelist for different ad networks and things like that, basically accounts. So if you level 1 to level 2, level 2 to level 3, we basically are able to get other ad networks to begin bidding inside of our ad server for your site. Now, usually that'll look like the revenue increasing over time because you have more competition. And some sites, it just depends. Like more competition is a really good thing. Lower traffic, it's going to take more time. If you've got 1 million visitors, usually you'll see that leveling up process have a really fast impact because you just have so much more data. Lower traffic, probably not as significant, but irregardless, the biggest thing that I've seen in publishers when they level up and they'll say, well, maybe I didn't make more money or I feel like it's the same, is again, it's that zoomed out perspective. Start looking at things like month over month. When you look at things week over week, you can pick any 2 weeks out of the year and you could compare them and be like, ad revenue's up, it's down, it's way up, it's way down. Like what's going on? Seasonal changes, especially whenever you're going month over month or quarter over quarter, advertiser campaigns are adjusting, traffic's adjusting. I would say just maybe zoom out a little bit, but realistically, each level sort of provides different basically ad partners and things like that we're able to sort of kind of jam in there. Premium can help too. But yeah, one of the things I'd like to do is be able to show people all the different ad partners and things like that are available to them or currently live on their sites at each level. And that's something that we've built out and that we'll probably have available later this year.
That's a great point as well. I saw loads of people freaking out in the beginning of April. The ad rates were down, and oh my god, it's the end of the world. I'm like, yes, start of a new quarter, right? People are readjusting their budgets, new campaigns are spinning up, and then all of a sudden, a week later, it's back to normal. Like
the ad revenue index that we built has been. We see it each quarter. It's funny if you look at the traffic on the ad revenue index. Everybody in the industry uses it, and you can see it's like an inverse of the actual index itself. So when the revenue goes up, the traffic goes down. When the index shows a lower seasonal revenue, it's like traffic for the site goes way up because it's like everybody wants to know, is it me or is it everybody?
Yeah, for sure.
There it is.
Yeah, you see that first week slight drop there.
Yep, it's a really fascinating chart. If you overlay it with the, I believe it's the NASDAQ, it lines up almost perfectly.
That makes sense because when companies are doing better, they're going to spend more on advertising to acquire. So yeah,
yep.
Kind of makes sense.
And just in the same way where it's like you get these dips where it's like the sky is falling, the stock market crashed. It's like you zoom out, you look at it over 3 or 4 years, and you're like, oh no, 56% growth over the last 3 years. Advertising works the exact same way.
Cool. Okay, we're going to get close to wrapping it up. What I'm going to say is we're 3 likes short of the merch giveaway. So if you want some merch, hit the like button.
Come on.
And then also, if you want to be entered in the draw for the merch, type something in the chat on YouTube now, because that's the way it works. And if you don't type something in the next 2 minutes or so, then you won't be in the draw. So type something, even if it's just hello. And we'll let you do a question while that's happening.
Just a quick one on this one. If someone's not sure that their Ezoic site is set up correctly, is there anything they can do? Because I know you've massively simplified the implementation with the plugin and auto-generate the placeholders recently, and I love that. But if someone's not sure they've done it right, is there anywhere they can go? Can they reach out to anyone, or how does that work?
Yeah, so two things there. So I guess the first is it's one of the biggest reasons why we implemented scores. So if you go into your dashboard and you go to the levels, button that's kind of black up there in the right-hand corner, and you click on it, there's a module in there now that sort of scores your setup. And the reason why we created this is because you can go into the support articles and get all these like help in being able to optimize your site. And the reason why it's like, well, why don't we just automate more of those things? Some of the things we can automate really quickly to where you can push a button and we'll be able to sort of augment some of those things. We've got some of it done, and I would say 90% of the time it works perfect. 10% of the time there's weird edge cases, and so we're just cautious about being able to roll that out. That said, it's very easy to go and fix the things that would increase your score. Increasing your score is going to, it's going to optimize best practices that are going to make you more money. Now, that said, the reason why we don't just automate that or tell people to do it outright is because people have the choice. You have a choice about whether or not you want to, have ads above the fold or this or that. Like, is there a cost? Is there a benefit? Yeah, there is for everything. So you take ads away, maybe you make less money, but maybe you're okay with that. Vice versa, same is true. But the scoring is more than just, the number of placeholders and things like that. It's stuff like linking mediation. It's stuff like being able to improve your cache hit rate and things like that. But if you go in there, you can see exactly what you should do. It scores it for you. So every hour, I think a cron runs. So if you adjust something and it improves, the thing will show you your score and will show that you've improved something there in your setup. So that's a way to basically check it yourself and also make adjustments. If you are a, I believe, level 2 and up publisher, you should have a dedicated account manager, and you can connect with them. And either, I believe many of them have like set times that you can meet with them once a month. You can reach out to them directly and just ask for somebody to take a look at it. That's a big point of our publisher success team, is really just to work one-to-one with our publishers. at the lower levels, it's really just to provide them help like this. At the higher levels, like we've hired entire staff of SEO experts and ad ops and sales team members that are basically just trying to figure out how do we help you grow your business. And so I would say, reach out to those people as well. If you're, level, I think it's level 3, level 4 VIP, those experts, they definitely have helped a lot of sites, and I would get in touch with them.
Awesome. That's great. Oh yeah. I think this sums it up. This has been such a popular episode. We had so many questions. Like, we need you back for a part 2, I think, Tyler, to ask you all the other questions. You've got so many still lined up in the pinned messages. But yeah, it's been great. Like, El Couch says, it's great to have you on. Great to hear so much about Ezoic. Yeah, this is awesome.
Absolutely. I'm happy to come on anytime. Like I said, this is for me the easiest thing I'll do all day. I tell people this all the time, and I've been saying a lot because we've been hiring. We've been hiring a lot. We just have classes of people coming through. It's really fantastic, and it's really because of the growth of our business, which is reflective of really just our customers, and we're really grateful for that. And I think one of the things that I've been saying a lot is that there's no questions that I'm ever afraid that somebody's going to ask me, whether it's about this space or our business. And I tell this to our new employees that are starting. I always say, if something sucks, speak up, talk immediately. If you're afraid because of a question that maybe you would get as a support member, as an engineer or something like that, like, we need to address that, because why would you be scared? Who wants to work for a company that sucks? Who wants to make a product that sucks? Like, I want to make the best product. I want to change the industry. I want to be able to make, like, our customers, like, better businesses. When we gave away the money for grants, and we continue to do that, there's $12.3 million just money to our customers. And I'm telling you, the idea was not more thought out than, when our customers grow, we make more money. We help our customers grow. I believe in our product so much that I'm willing to say, if we give our customers money, they will grow. And I think it is amazing that you can feel good about doing something like that, knowing that you have a product that literally is something that you can give your customers money to grow, because as they grow, your product will make them more money. And ultimately, to me, it's like the best business ever, right? And so my goal is to keep us on that path. And I think it really starts with people being able to identify and be honest about stuff that doesn't work or needs to get better. And I'm not shy about those things either. So I love coming on and being able to talk about it. And I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity.
Awesome.
Cool. We'll definitely have you back then.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say on to the swag, because Daniel came for the golden nuggets, but he's here for the swag. So let's hit it, Mark. You do the transition, and I'll get the music ready.
Oh, okay.
You've already done it. You've already got the music.
God, sorry. This is the professional streamer told us we need music and transitions, right? So
I love it. I love the pomp and circumstance of everything.
Okay, here we go. It's a fast transition. I have to be quick. Go. Yeah, I fucked it up.
Every time.
I fucked it up. So there you go. We're on. Okay, swag. Here's what you could win. T-shirts. We've got different ones. We've got the ones with the full logo, the ones with the partial logo. Lots of different colors. A mug, different designs, and as well a cap. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, is it Bill? No, it's going to go past Bill. Is it Chris?
It's going to be Chris.
I know Chris won the other day. Well, Chris won on St. Patrick's Day. And he's
lucky
Irish,
guy.
So
do another one.
Let's do another one.
Who's going to be similar area again? So Ian is going to be Ian, I think.
Nice.
Cool. Congratulations, guys.
Are the entries on there? Is that the people on the wheel?
There's more than that on the video. There's still 33 people watching, but not everyone wants the merch.
So what I was going to say is anybody that was on the wheel that is an Ezoic customer, Ezoic will buy you guys some swag from the Niche Website Builder store. So if you're an Ezoic customer and you were on that wheel and you didn't happen to be Ian, like flag it, let the guys know, and you guys just let me know, and we'll take care of you guys. We'll buy some swag.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Wait,
yeah,
you've ruined it going forward for us now, though, because all of these people next time when they come on,
I said if there was customers, I'm not going to be on every single time. Next time, who knows? I might not do it. So it's just it's a lucky bunch. It's like you guys are like Oprah now. It's like you get a car and you get a car, not car jet, guys, not car.
Also, we're hoping to grow it to have hundreds of people on there. So like probably not so generous next time.
yeah. Smart marketing, but not necessarily the model that you can live and die by.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, we'll get Tyler on again to cover the questions that we missed. But thanks everybody, and catch you next time.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks everybody for listening.